Hello everybody, it's Matt here, the Gaming Bristolian. Today we're going to have a quick look at my Sega Saturn collection. Right, so first of all we got Virtual Fighter. This is a port obviously of the Model 1 arcade game. It's an alright port. I think they rushed this out for the launch in Japan, so it's a little bit glitchy and rough around the edges. It's alright, it's still playable, it's still a very good game, but just could have been better. I believe there's also a Virtual Fighter remix as well with this, which does improve it somewhat. That was followed up by the, to be honest, far better Virtual Fighter 2. Again, this just improves everything. It plays a lot smoother, it looks a lot better, it's just all around a better game. Plus, this is pretty cheap as well for a Saturn game, so if you want a Virtual Fighter game, I say get this one. Next we got Doom. This is alright. It's a pretty ropey port of a very good game, is probably the best way to describe this. Frame rate sort of kills it a little bit in places, but it's still playable, it's still a fun game. Worth noting as well, it does include Doom 2 as well as the first Doom, which is alright, but we have changed the music a little bit. And we got Street Fighter Alpha 2, very cool game. I had the first Alpha and I couldn't find it somewhere, but I'm pretty sure I got it around here somewhere. 2D beat 'em up. I think it's technically set before the original Street Fighter game. But yeah, this is definitely recommended. Next we got DayTuna USA. I love the arcade game of this. It's a good, well, I wouldn't say it's a good port exactly. It's still playable port and it still sort of captures the feel of the arcade. But it's a little bit glitchy in places. A frame rate could be a lot better. It's strange one for this because it is still a good game, but performance wise does sort of hinder it a little bit. But yeah, other than that, it's still quite fun. That was followed up by DayTuna USA Championship Circuit Edition, or CCE. This is basically just the improved version of it. There's a few more tracks on it. Seems to run a little better. It supports like the 3D pad and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, this is maybe the version to get, but even if you get the original, it's still alright. We got an absolute banger, Die Hard Arcade, also known as Dynamite Decker in Japan. This is very loosely based on the first Die Hard movie, but great game this. Best way to describe this is basically like Streets of Rage, but in 3D. That's the best way to describe it. Don't expect it to follow the plot of the film too much, because it doesn't, but still definitely worth playing. Has gone up a bit in price. I bought this about 10 years ago and it was about 20 quid, and this is now like 70, 80 pounds if you want a PAL version. But I think the Japanese one's a little bit cheaper. And we got F1 Challenge. It's a really cool game, Formula 1 game. Hasn't got every Formula 1 circuit in it. It's got a couple. It's got like Hockenheimer and Silverstone, I think, as well. And it's got a load of like basically made up courses for this game. Yeah, it's quite good. You have to sort of balance your tyres and fuel intake and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, this was pretty good. Another sort of Formula 1, kind of Formula 1, I guess. Virtual Racing, or Time Warner Presents, I think it's actually called. But yeah, this is good. Graphics probably could have been a lot better. I know obviously Virtual Racing's probably about 3-4 years old by the time this came out. Still worth playing though. I still like it. But yeah, it's alright. You got a few more extra tracks as well. And you got Street Racer, which is, I think it came out on the SNES and the Mega Drive and the PlayStation and the Saturn. This is sort of a kart racer. It's probably the best way to call this. Yeah, really fun little game, this. Not much to say about it. Just a bunch of wacky characters, your little go-karts, and you can like hit each other and fire stuff at each other. It's all good fun. Next, we got Digital Pinball, which is a generic pinball game. Yeah, it's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing great with it or terrible with it. It's alright. It's fairly bog standard pinball, really. You got Wing Arms, which is Second World War combat game, loosely based on the Second World War. This is pretty good. No save states in this, which I found weird. So you basically got to play it all at once, which is a bit of a bummer. But yeah, it's all right. Next, you got Sega Ages Volume 1. Don't believe I ever done a Volume 2, but never mind. So, Afterburner 2, Space Harrier, Outrun, all on one disc. All classic arcade games from Sega. All really good ports. Honestly, I've played the arcade versions. I generally didn't notice a difference at all. So I think all arcade perfect. This is definitely recommended. Again, can get a bit expensive, this game. I think because it sort of appeals to the classic Sega fans. Next, we've got Scorcher. A weird racing game. You basically use like giant balls is probably the best way to describe this. Kind of got like a dark dystopian sort of feel to it, but yeah, this is alright. Can be a bit tough after about a third race, so I find. Could have done something about difficulty, but yeah, this is alright. Next, absolute classic, Sega Rally, or Sega Rally Championship. Great port of the arcade game. Not arcade perfect, but as good as you were ever going to get in the mid-90s to a Model 2 arcade game. Yeah, this is definitely recommended. I do like this game a lot. Next, you got Tomb Raider. Oh, it's not coming off, never mind. Yeah, so this is obviously, well, I say it's a port of a PS1 game. I believe the Saturn version actually predated it by a couple of months. But it seems very similar to the Saturn, to the PlayStation version. So I'm sure you know Tomb Raider, running around in like caves. Hasn't dated amazingly, this game, and it's just the controls sort of hold it back a little bit for me. But yeah, it's still alright. Next, we got the awesome Marvel Superheroes, a 2D Capcom fighting game. This is basically like the predecessor to the XMen, to the Marvel vs. Capcom series. So you had XMen vs. Street Fighter, and then you had Marvel vs. Capcom. This is it's a really cool game. I do like this one a lot. 2D fighter. I usually like Cyclops, maybe Wolverine is my favourite on here, but yeah, this is a class little game. Speaking of which, you also got X-Men Children of the Atom. This is good. Can get a bit tricky, this game. I think I prefer the Marvel one. Similar sort of thing. One-on-one 2D fighter. Cracking game, really, in two-player. But as I said, the difficulty is just a little bit too much on this game at times. And you got Steep Slope Sliders. Snowboarding game. Apparently this was based on an arcade game. I've never seen the arcade game at all. I've only ever seen the Saturn version of this, which is odd. Made by Cave, who usually make shooters, but yeah, this is it's a really good snowboarding game. Quite similar to Cool Borders on the PS1. That's probably the best comparison I can make on that. Sega Worldwide Soccer 98. Football game. Does feature Premier League ties, or Premier League for the 98 or 97-98 season. Yeah, this is pretty good. All worldwide soccer games on the Saturn are quite good. Quite good fun. Probably the best football game on the system. And we got The Duke. Come get some. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is Duke Nukem 3D. Really good port. great. I'd argue this is probably at the time a best home port, because the PS1 version is a bit janky and the N64 version is a bit censored. So I'd argue this is probably the best one. Plus as well, if you get the American version of this, it features Netlink support as well, so you can play it online, which I did like. Oster Move 3. This is shooting bubbles up, basically. I'm sure you played sort of one variation of this or another. Yeah, cool little puzzle game. Quite good fun. Easy to get into. Yeah, this is recommended. Loaded. This is obviously a port of a PS1 game. Pretty good. I did enjoy this. Not the greatest game of all time. It reminds me a little bit of Smash TV in places, but yeah, I did like this. Panzer Dragon 2 was another like 3D shooter, Panzer Dragon, a really fun little game. I say this is the best one. There's a first one and a second one, a Saga as well, which is like more of an RPG. But yeah, this is recommended. It's a very cool game. Again, getting up in price a little bit. It's Tetris Plus, basically Tetris. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. Not an awful lot to say about it. If you like Tetris, you'll probably like this. If you don't, you probably won't. But I think it was an arcade game originally and got ported across to a Saturn and a PS1, but never actually played the arcade version. And you got Last Bronx. Right, so this is 3D fighter, weapons-based game. Pretty good. Made by AM2. Some nice little visual effects. Again, quite difficult though. I've never actually managed to complete this in the arcade mode. 2-player mode is alright, but 1 player, yeah. Next, we've got Area 51, which is like a light gun shooter, but you can play it without a light gun. Yeah, this is pretty good. Again, PS1 game as well. Yeah, it's a pretty kind of fun game. Probably not quite as good as Virtual Cop, but yeah, still quite good. And you got Worms, which was, I believe, originally an Amiga game and got ported to basically everything afterwards. Yeah, this is fun, like side-on turn-based strategy game, lots of weapons, blow up the other worms. This is a pretty fun little game. And you got Bucka, or Bucka Animal, I believe. Oh no, it's just Bucka, yeah. This is weird sort of puzzle game where you got different types of food and different types of animals, and you've got to match the food to the animals. It's very strange one, but quite good fun. Next, you got House of the Dead. Another light gun shooter. Really cool game. Graphics take a bit of a hit on this version, I won't lie, but still a class little game, House of the Dead. Again, this is another one which has sort of gone up in price a little bit recently. And you got Manx TT Superbike. Arcade motorbike racer. Quite a cool game. Only 2 tracks on it, which is probably the biggest downfall of this. But yeah, it still plays quite nice. Probably want a 3D control as well for this, because otherwise it's a little bit dodgy to control with a normal pad. And you got the excellent Fighters Megax, which is basically a mixture of Fighting Vipers and Virtual Fighter 2. Really cool game, loads of extras, your random stuff like you fight as a DayTuna car and one bit. This is a quality game. And you got Pandemonium, 2.5D platformer, port of a PlayStation game. Yeah, this is really fun. I do quite like this. Takes a bit of use to get the angle of a game, but I do enjoy that. And you got Winter Heat, which is a sequel to what's it called? Athlete Kings, I think it was. Just basically track and field sort of games, you know, button bashing, that sort of stuff, but all with the Winter Olympics feel on this one. I thought I had Athlete King somewhere, but I can't seem to find it, but never mind. You got Sega T Car Championship. This is obviously arcade racer. It's good. Frame rate's quite low on it, and it can be a bit jerky. And you're probably best using a 3D controller, because standard pad is going to make this quite difficult on this game. But it's still alright. Not as good as Sega Rally, but it's still alright. And it also got Need for Speed, or The Need for Speed. Yeah, you see, this is like the EA version, which is in the big box in comparison to like the normal version, if you see what I mean. It's starting to remind me of like the old video boxes, but yeah, this is alright. I believe it started on a 3DO originally, this game, but got ported to Saturn and a PlayStation as well. You also got the excellent Nights and Dreams. This, I believe, came bundled with the 3D controller. Excellent game. Nights, probably one of the best games on a Saturn. I do really like this game. I do have Christmas Night somewhere. I can't seem to find it, but if I find it, I'll stick it on the end of this video. So next, we got a few Japanese-only games. Starting with Street Fighter Zero, which was known as Street Fighter Alpha. Yeah, cracking little game this. Probably the second one's better. I believe the third one's on a Saturn, but I don't have that. This is recommended. Super Puzzle Fighter. Was this Puzzle Fighter? Yeah, Puzzle Fighter. Yeah, this is well, it's a puzzle game with like Street Fighter, Darkstalkers characters as well. It's a really fun little game. This got ported to PS1 as well, I think. But yeah, this is really cool. Street Fighter Real Battle on Film, or Street Fighter the Movie, as it's also called. Yeah, this is alright. It's kind of gets a bit of a bad reputation, this game, but it's okay. It's not too bad. It just plays like Super Street Fighter 2, only, you know, use digitized actors in it. And obviously got Van Damme and Carly and Raul Julia, was it, I think? Yeah. This is alright. It gets a bad rap, but it's, you know, it's fine. So this is Pradius, or Pradius Collection. Yeah, Pradius Deluxe pack, yeah. For those who don't know, Saturn games, the Japanese ones, will have the Japanese on one side and the English on the other, which is quite cool. So on a shelf you can have them like that and you can see what they are. So yeah, this is 2D shooter, shmup, as it were. Pretty good, not the best, not the worst, but yeah, it's fine. Similar to that, we got Twin B, or Twin B Deluxe. Again, another Konami shooter. 2D shmup, very cute and colourful, but yeah, it's a good game, it's alright. It's got Sonic Wings Special. Nothing whatsoever to do with Sonic the Hedgehog. This is a port of the arcade game Sonic Wings. Again, 2D shmup, very fun little game. You basically get a bonus CD with the music from the game in this, if you're wondering why it's on a bigger case. This is Wang, what is it? Wang Gang Dead Heat. I think this is known as Highway 2000 in the West. Best way to describe this? Ridge Racer. It's just Ridge Racer on Saturn, basically. Has this weird bit with these Japanese girls as well. Before you start a race, you pick a girl and they get in the car, and if you do well, they're happy, and if you're not, they get in a mood and storm off. But yeah, this is a pretty fun racer. Another Street Fighter Collection, which is a load of different versions of Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter Alpha. Worth getting. Again, this is one, if you want a PAL version of this, ridiculously expensive, about £300-400. Japanese version's cheaper, but it's still about £50. But yeah, this was quite fun. Like this, again, how much you like Street Fighter is going to depend on. Oh. This is Strikers 1945. Again, 2D shmup. I did do a playthrough in this. I think I've done a playthrough in the PS1 version of this. But yeah, this is a really cool game. Second World War shooter. Again, I don't think it's ever got released in the West, or not on the Saturn anyway. Yeah, pretty cool game. You got Power Drift, which is a port of the old Sega arcade game from the late 80s, I think. Possibly very early 90s. When you're on these sort of weird, like, almost like roller coaster tracks in this. This is quite a nice port. Sega Ages port. Sega Ages was basically re-releasing old arcade games on the Saturn. Most of which never came out outside Japan, unfortunately. Like this one didn't. You got Gunbird, which is, again, another shmup made by Saikyo. Really cool little game. Yeah, again, it's hard to know what to say about these shmups because they're all kind of quite similar to each other, all good, but yeah, again, 2D, just looking down like horizontal shooter. Yeah, very cool game. Henry Explorers, which I think was known as, was it Crypt? What was it? Crypt Killer, I think it was called over here. Yeah, it's a light gun game. It's all right. It's no House of the Dead. It's no Virtual Cop, but it's fine. You know. Maybe if you see it's cheap, but I wouldn't rush out and get it. If I'm brutally honest, you probably want to get a Virtual Cop. That's one I go for. Darius Gaden, I think. Yeah, Darius Gaden. Yeah, it's a really cool game. Again, sort of side-on shooter. Lots of weird, like, robotic fish and stuff like this in this game. It's kind of bizarre, but it's quite cool as well. Again, I think it's on a PS1. Yeah, this is really cool. It did get a power release, but again, the power release is really expensive. Japanese version still reasonably cheap. And you got Panzer Dragon, the first one. Yeah, this is, I think I mentioned the second one earlier. This is sort of a game, you're riding a dragon, shoot the baddies, all in 3D, it's very cool. And you got Dead or Alive, which is an arcade port, 3D fighter. Really cool game, really good port as well on the Saturn. I do appreciate this, it's a very cool little game, this. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dead or Alive generally, so yeah, I do like this. Next, we got Guardian Heroes. It's a really cool game, this. Sort of hack and slash, but with quite a decent story to it. The PAL version and the US version of this has gone up a lot in recent years. Japanese version, what I got here, still reasonably priced, so if you really want to get it, I'd suggest getting a Japanese version. And we got, what's this, Super Robot Wars? Nothing whatsoever to do with the TV show Robot Wars. This is like a turn-based strategy game. Didn't get that far in this, mostly because all the dialogue was in Japanese and I didn't really know what I was doing. So yeah, this is probably one to avoid, really. And you got Sky Target. It's alright. This is basically Afterburner-esque. I'd say it's Afterburner, but in 3D. It's alright. It's fine. It's sort of an average port, an average game. Nothing amazing, but, you know, it's alright. And you got Chaos Control. This is like an on-rails FMV shooter. You sort of fly around spaceships and cities and shooting stuff. It's, you know, it's fine. It's alright. It's different. It reminds me of like a sort of CDI game or something like that. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing great with it either. This is alright. And last of all, we got Virtual Fighter Kids, which is basically, well, I won't say it's a port of Virtual Fighter 2. It's based on Virtual Fighter 2, but it's all done in this sort of cartoony, big-headed sort of vibe to it. It's alright, it's fine. It seems a little bit pointless. Probably should have been like an extra mode on Virtua Fighter 2 or Fighters Mega Mix or something. But yeah, it's alright, it's fine. It's okay. Right, that is part 1 of this video. I am going to be doing a part 2 because I've still got quite a few games and this is already getting a bit long, this video. So hopefully I'll see you next time.